Welcome to our back to school special.
This is going to be great for you.
From whisking up healthy breakfast meals
that will keep your mornings running smoothly
to managing your child's anxiety.
Worrying is in your head.
From DIY school portraits.
This is a big problem. I see it in everybody's photos all the time.
To TikTok teachers.
Karate chopping science.
We've got your back for back to school.
And propel them into a future that it's more grounded in real world experience.
And making the top of our list, a guide for all you parents to help you along the way.
About the concerns that you have.
School starts right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Shaguna Duolowu.
And I'm Christina Guerrero. Now, as we all know, back to school this year will be a whole new ballgame.
Which is why we put together a special show today all about Back to School 2020.
Yeah, a lot depends on your school district, but it's a safe bet our kids will be home more than normal.
And a lot of adults will be pushed into a full-on superhero mode, doing triple duty, working, parenting, and teaching.
That's why the Back to School Parent Survival Guide is our featured story at the top of the list.
Not all heroes wear capes. Many simply go by the term parent. But lately, that superhero status has been tested as the country prepares for back to school during a pandemic.
This is absolutely going to increase even more responsibility for parents and engagement in their students' learning.
So to help, we brought in Chris Latham, the director of college counseling at Washington Latin Public Charter School in D.C. She spent over 2 decades working in different areas of education, and she's helping to put together a parent survival guide to get you through the year. She says first, you've got to accept that it's okay to feel overwhelmed.
Honestly, I think one of the most important things is to acknowledge the sense of overwhelm that you're feeling as a parent.
Because she says that kids of all ages are receptive to feelings of stress and worry.
And then seeking out information about the concerns that you have, things that will address those concerns, whether it's the precautions that your student's school will be taking to ensure their safety, or naming the type of support that you actually need as a parent.
And Chris says don't be afraid to ask the school about different programs that you may not have even realized were available.
Just as important is asking about mental health supports of your student's school and what's going to be available when the kids return in the fall.
The next step in the survival guide, develop a routine.
For those students who will be engaged in some type of virtual or remote learning, schedules and routines are just as important as if they were actually going to a schoolhouse every day.
Chris advises to get as much normalcy into their routine, but she says you also want them to take breaks, so don't feel like they have to be doing schoolwork 24/7.
Factor in time to exercise or go for a walk throughout the day to break up the hours of homework and schoolwork that they may have.
And the next step might seem obvious, but communication is key. That means knowing how to contact your school, making sure you're on any mailing lists, and asking for any updates you might need.
But also parents not being afraid to reach out and ask questions. It all boils down to communication, creating that open line and dialogue.
But you've also got to keep an open line with your student. Make sure you're checking in with them and see if they need adjustments along the way. And finally, use outside resources.
I think a lot more now has gone online virtually, such as Khan Academy, and that students can use not only for academic learning, but also in preparation for the SAT.
And there's a ton of free videos on YouTube where you can get help for specific subjects for your child.
Or even just allowing your child to Zoom or FaceTime with a few friends to sort of recreate the experience of studying and doing homework together.
It's not all up to you. There's lots of help out there so that you don't have to feel alone. So dust off that cape because we're getting you ready for back to school with the Parent Survival Guide on the top of the list.
Going back to school has always been an anxious time for children, and this year there's going to be a lot of changes and more stress than ever. So Heidi Fogelsong asked an expert for tips to help your kids cope.
With some children returning to school soon, they'll be entering into a new normal and most likely a very different classroom.
Teachers wearing a mask or their friends are wearing a mask. They can't see smiling. They can't see a face of approval.
So we turn to Dr. Jan Blackstone, author of Co-Parenting Through Separation and Divorce, Putting Your Children First, on ways to help manage your child's anxiety. First, let's clarify the difference between worry and anxiety.
Worrying is in your head. Anxiety is manifesting a behavior for those worries. A lot of it's mood swings, crying for no reason, not being able to sleep at night, big one, night terrors. And it's individual. You have to know your child.
When you've established its anxiety, Dr. Blackstone says it's important for parents to model confidence.
The children look to their parents to make them feel safe and secure. And if the parents are manifesting anxiety or worry or things like that, then the child has nobody to depend on. I always tell parents to kind of get a hold of themselves when their children are around. If you're relaxed when you're talking to them, validate what they're saying to you. I understand that, we're all concerned, but this isn't going to be forever. Try to model calmness so that they can copy that.
Next, Dr. Blackstone says help them reframe.
You look for a positive to reframe it so that a child isn't so frightened, because that's what we're trying to counter is their fears.
She says it's great to do that with masks.
Kids are all into superheroes. So rather than calling it a mask, which covers up everything, call it something like a safety shield and turn it into a positive.
And finally, be aware what they're hearing.
Parents oftentimes have the TV on in the background while they're cooking dinner. Child doesn't have the filters that we do. They don't understand what Democrats and Republicans are and coronavirus, and all they hear is fear, anger, violence. Also, you have to guard how you're talking to your family members on the phone, because kids have very large ears.
We're helping kids manage their anxiety before the school bell rings.
Whether they're doing their learning in a school or a spare bedroom, kids need a good breakfast to power them through the day. That's why we've got 3 quick and healthy options to get all systems go for some schooling. The back-to-school hustle and bustle is right around the corner, but don't fret. We're here to make it a little easier on you.
I'm going to give you a few recipes that will keep your mornings running smoothly.
To learn more, we turn to owner of Whisked Away Cooking School, Maggie Norris. First up on the morning menu, granola.
For the granola, we are using pumpkin seeds, almonds, non-fat dry milk, flaxseed, sunflower seeds, avocado oil, maple syrup, honey, a little bit of vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves.
And of course, old-fashioned oats. Add all the dry ingredients into one bowl.
To the small saucepan, I'm going to add the avocado oil, honey, and maple syrup, and I'll heat this until it's just thin enough to pour.
Add a little vanilla, toss together, and
we're going to put it into a 350-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Break it up and serve with milk or Greek yogurt and some fruit. Next up, we're cooking egg cups.
For the egg cups, I'm using 1 small carton of egg whites and 2 whole eggs, diced red pepper that's been sauteed, shredded mozzarella cheese, cooked mild Italian chicken sausage, and kosher salt and pepper.
Whisk together eggs.
And I'm going to add in my sauteed red bell pepper and my kosher salt and pepper.
Pour mixture into a greased muffin tray.
Add a little bit of the sausage and some of the cheese.
Pop in the oven at 375 for 20 minutes and you're good to go. Finally, we're making banana muffins.
The ingredients we're using are bananas, whole wheat flour, Greek yogurt, coconut milk, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, and a little bit of nutmeg, vanilla, a whole egg, chocolate chips, honey, and oil.
Whisk together all dry and wet ingredients in 2 different bowls.
Now I'm going to fold in the dry ingredients, making sure not to overmix these muffins.
Next, if you choose to, fold in your chocolate chips and into the oven at 350 degrees for 18 to 22 minutes, and voila. We're sending kids to the top of the class with quick and healthy breakfasts.
Back to school ideas continue. Why the most beneficial year could be the one you take off.
What is this gap year you talk of?
Then science, music, and inspiration. Movies that might teach you a thing or two. Plus,
the amazing floating bands.
Teachers using social media to educate and take great school portraits at home.
This is my favorite trick.
Next.
Welcome back to our Back to School 2020 show. You know, there's so much uncertainty about the fall semester that many students are thinking about bailing on the books for a year. and trying something different. Jimmy Rhodes looks at the basics of a gap year. Hey Jimmy, what's the deal?
Mel Russo's a go-getter.
I was always a very academically motivated person, and I would study something intense, maybe get a master's, maybe get a PhD.
Then she pitched her parents an uncommon idea.
They were like, what do you mean? What is this gap year you talk of?
Yeah, what do you mean? I asked Gap Year Association Executive Director Ethan Knight.
A gap year is a semester or a year typically taken after high school or before starting college or your career in order to deepen one's personal, practical, and professional awareness.
That idea is unfamiliar, so my inclination is to fear it, like dragons, frappuccinos, or small pieces of cloth worn over the mouth and nose. So we're breaking down the gap year, starting with, is this just really a year off?
If a student's just at home kicking their feet up playing video games, I wouldn't call that a gap year. It's always got to be grounded in some level of experiential learning, and we're really keen to highlight that you go in with some degree of intention or purpose.
So it's different from book learning.
We can only dream as big as we've seen. So we're trying to take the lid off of that for each individual person and propel them into a future that it's more grounded in a real-world experience.
Great, but haven't we all heard that students who take a break never come back?
The data is quite clear that if a young person goes on to do a purposeful gap year, then they're back in school to the tune of 90% within a year, and any high school would be happy with those numbers.
And most students do better once they're back.
Students emerge much more driven through their college degree. Better GPAs, better time to graduation, better leadership quotients.
Finally, how do you structure this thing? You can get ideas at the Gap Year Association website.
Every 3 years, we release a new set of standards, and we accredit gap year programs as well as gap year consultants.
So you can know the guidance you're getting is legit, but
some of the best gap years I've seen have been done independently by students, either working with a gap year consultant or their own family contacts.
Which is how Mel managed her experience.
I ended up in Costa Rica working as an English teacher, and then my French teacher from high school actually reached out to me and said, you can work for this museum. So then I found myself working in a very small town in France. Things just came my way and I kept saying yes.
GapYearAssociation.org is a great place to start your search for resources, including financial aid or paid work opportunities.
You should take a gap year.
Understanding gap year basics is what's the deal.
Kids love TikTok. So while students are learning from home, savvy educators are using the social media platform to connect with them in fun ways. Our Teresa Strasser has 3 top-notch TikTok teachers on the buzz list. Teresa.
Thank you. These TikTok teachers provide back-to-school fun that is second to none. First up, Steve Spangler.
Karate chopping science.
The host of the Fox TV show DIY Sci, who's also Ellen's resident science guy.
Take this is yes. So this is
shows us how to pull off science tricks.
Look at this, the amazing floating bands. The secret, static electricity. Let me show you how to do it.
And comes up with science challenges like the bottle bounce.
Bam!
Egg in a bottle.
Bam!
And the inertia challenge.
Bam! What are you gonna do?
My kids have already perfected a form of inertia called scrolling through TikTok on the couch. Yep. Up next, Raven Baxter, aka Raven the Science Maven, a microbiologist who gives fun biology facts. Did you know why goat pupils are horizontal?
It allows goats to see horizons better. They can see little tiger coming even when their head is bent down eating that food.
She also discusses various scientific theories and has a series on the science of human skin.
It's a very common misconception that if you have very dark skin like I do, that you don't need to use sunscreen, and that is totally false.
She even comes up with humorous songs like her coronavirus rap parody that's about the importance of having good personal hygiene.
Lights off, wipe it down, Clorox, wipe it down, wash your body, wash your hair, and wash your hands too. Get some soap, scrub it down, and show me how you do it.
She went viral for that song, viral in a good way. And third on our TikTok teacher list, someone for the younger kids, Stephanie Schultz, a kindergarten teacher who shares some learning ideas 15 seconds at a time.
Help kids learn to read with word families and rhyming words.
She gives parents teacher tricks to help with reading.
Smush one ball for each sound, then roll to blend the word.
And math. Now who's up for a game of subtraction snacking?
Count out the first number in Cheerios and the second number to subtract.
All this learning is making me hungry. Teachers giving us TikTok edutainment on the buzz list. We've got lots more to come. Stay with us.
We're back with our Back to School 2020 show. All right, well, textbooks and computers are essential to the education experience. Movies can teach you a lot too. We're checking out the best films to learn from on the Hot List.
All right, kids, time to get ready for school. But instead of a chalkboard, we'll be looking at a movie screen. We found 4 family-friendly flicks that'll teach kids what's normally explained in school.
Not a bad way to spend an evening, eh?
Let's start with Language Arts class and Dead Poets Society.
We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion.
Robin Williams stars in this award-winning 1989 film as John Keating, a new English teacher at a prestigious boarding school who inspires his students to love poetry. And he could inspire your kids too.
Words and ideas can change the world.
Next, get ready for math and science with Hidden Figures.
I've never seen a mind like the one your daughter has. You have to see what she becomes.
This 2016 film follows the true story of that young girl and other African American females who grew up to play an important role in America's space race.
What do you ladies do for NASA?
Calculate, launch, and landing, sir. Engineering. And I'm proud as the devil to be working with you.
It's a nice reminder for youngins that if they study STEM, as in science, technology, engineering, and math, the sky's the limit.
Math is always dependable.
But we can't forget about the arts. For music class, check out The Sound of Music.
Let's start at the very beginning.
This 1965 film was the highest grossing movie that year and won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Music.
Go! A deer, a female deer.
The story of the Trapp Family Singers stars Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer and will teach kids of all ages, among other things, the ever so important musical notes.
You can sing most anything.
And let's wrap up our film school with some physical education from Rudy.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
This 1993 sports flick isn't just about the importance of exercise. It's about putting your mind to a goal and doing whatever it takes to achieve it.
I can do it, coach!
It's the true story of Rudy Rudiger, whose determination leads him not only to get into the University of Notre Dame, but gets him onto their football team as a walk-on. Getting schooled by movies on the Hot List. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our Back to School 2020 show. We all have memories, some good and some bad, of the photographer who shows up with the lighting and gear and takes those iconic school photos. But this year, that tradition is up in the air. Well, no worries. Teresa Strasser looks at how to snap school photos at home.
Say cheese and get ready, because we are stepping behind the lens to learn how to take the perfect photo at home.
Listen up, parents. If your kids are at home this year and you need to get their yearly photos, this is going to be great for you. This is great for little kids, for junior high, high school, and even college.
To learn how, we turn to professional photographer Maggie Kirkland. First up, it's time to shine as we learn how to find the best lighting.
What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn off anything electrical, any switches, any lamps, anything in the room that has electricity. And then you're going to want to go to the biggest, brightest window you have in your house and open it up, open the blinds, open the curtains.
And as for where to place your subject,
you're going to want to walk your subject towards that bright, open window. You don't want their back to the window. You actually want your back as the photographer to the window so that the light comes in and shines on their face.
Once you've found the perfect spot to shoot, clean up your background.
This is a big problem. I see it in everybody's photos all the time. There's just clutter and stuff in the background that is distracting to the photo you're trying to take of the person you love. So make sure you're looking at them, and if you see anything behind them that is distracting or maybe coming off of their shoulder, growing out of their head, or anything like that, clean it out, move it out, clear it up.
Next, we're framing things up by holding the camera at the perfect angle.
Holding the camera up slightly above someone's face and aiming it down at them is a really flattering angle for most people.
And if the subject you're photographing is taller than you,
make sure you stand on something to be slightly higher than them. Just maybe about 5 to 6 inches above their eye level with your camera.
Finally, have your subject say, yay!
This is my favorite trick. You're gonna have your subject say, yay. It gives them a huge, open, bright smile. It shows all their teeth and it makes them happy, which is gonna photograph really well.
Yay! And keep snapping photos because
even after they've said it, as they're coming down off of saying it, those are actually gonna be the most genuine, happy smiles you're gonna capture.
And now we know how to take pics like the pros from the comfort of our own home.
Thanks for joining us for our Back to School 2020 show. It's a crazy time, and we hope we've helped you get ready for the school year.
And good luck, because I know I'm going to need it.